Hello everybody, welcome back for the latest edition of Rugby League Back Chat. We had a week off, but we are back all guns blazing, and two very special guests. We've got Wakefield's very own George King and his brother, of course, Warrington centre Toby King. Now, I'm going to warn you, viewers, I don't think I'll have to say a lot during this show because Toby has given George grief all morning. He had a bit of an issue with his battery. We've delayed recording, but I felt it that George has tried to stay very calm, but he's going to unleash it all on his brother throughout this show. So I think I'm just going to hand over to these guys to do all the talking throughout this show. Toby, I'll let you get a word in first because it's been an eventful morning, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, we should have finished this about an hour ago, but we've had George turn up to a Skype interview with 10% battery on his phone. So yeah, as you can see, we're all ready to go now, and we've been waiting for George to charge his phone, and then we can go again.
George, would you like to respond to these allegations?
No comment.
And then we've not only had that problem, but the problem took him about half an hour to sort his phone out and stand it up against the windowsill so we can see him.
No comment.
Absolutely. This, if anyone knows George, this is just an ordinary day, so it doesn't faze me anymore.
Well, it's all right. We're here now. We can get up and running and talk about some rugby league. Because, fellas, it sounds like we actually know when we're going to be starting now. It looks like August, mid-August, start of August, you'll be back on a rugby field. George, I mean, I spoke to you about a month ago and you were already a little bit fed up. At least you know now when you're going to be able to play again. It must be relieving, quite exciting a little bit, I suppose.
Yeah, there's a little bit of light in the tunnel. You hear news you obviously hear the news on telly regards it starting sometime in August, but then you see it all opening up again, so we don't know even if we could be back earlier. So yeah, it's just one of them things where I don't think clubs know or in hindsight, what they're doing, in terms of when they come back playing, and so it's same with players. We're not really kept in the loop as much, but it's only natural because as a whole, it's just one of them things where we just got to get on with it, and it is what it is.
Toby, your brother's obviously moved house. He's got a little one to look after. Have you kept yourself occupied during all of this?
Yeah, well, luckily enough, we managed to go back to the gym just before this lockdown started, and they managed to give us loads of weights and cardiovascular stuff. So I've been doing a lot of exercise outside in my garden, and then just plenty of bike rides, keeping myself active. Looking at all these social distancing, you can still meet up with people. So yeah, I'm still managing to see my friends now with social distance. Went down to London for the day yesterday. That was pretty good. Did a little bike tour of the central London.
All right.
So yeah, I did all that. That was pretty a nice day out. So yeah, it's like I say, it's missing rugby, but at the same time, it's nice just to be around the family and that as well.
Be honest with me, boys, and I can hold you to ransom here because you've already revealed this. But what about the diets? Because you were telling me that you had one of the most epic barbecues in the history of barbecues.
That just one yesterday. We've probably been doing it every other week, haven't we? Well, not every week with weather, because the weather during lockdown has been fantastic. So it's just been nice to have like a social distance barbecue, and don't help that we're surrounded by butchers left, right, and centre.
What was on the menu then?
Go on, Toby.
It was the GK's famous chicken. To be fair, we
had some marinated chicken. We had some T-bone steak, ribeye steak. I did some fish as well, slow cooked. Marinated in a nice bit of butter and a nice bit of parsley. Not too much spices with fish because you end up spoiling it. I ended up making my own burgers.
Right.
And then we had a variety of sauces as well.
Yeah, you were telling me there were all sorts of condiments.
And a few condiments as well to go around the side. So it was lovely. I mean, we even shared it around. We even shared it around with neighbours and stuff like that, didn't we? So
yeah, it was a bit of a because so everyone was out, music were playing.
It's been quite good, really, because our street, they've been having a DJ every other week, and it just happened that yesterday while we were doing barbecue, that DJ were out, and we just moved into a new house, so it was really nice to get to know neighbours as well. Perfect.
I feel a little bit deprived because when we have barbecues here, it's like chicken and chorizo, kebab, sausage and burger, and that's all we get. Some tomato sauce on a good day.
I went down there and I couldn't believe it. yeah, that's it with everything.
Fair
play to him.
It sounds like a good old effort. That maybe you've redeemed yourself for the lack of battery this morning. Let you off.
Yeah,
but
we'll let him off with
it. The return to play. I'm sure you've seen bits and bats of what's being proposed now. Like I say, it looks like August, but there's talk of maybe playing to November, maybe December, maybe even January. Toby, what were your first impressions when you heard about these different proposals that are in place?
First of all, for me, I thought the January one was ridiculous. I'll be honest. I think the fact that they're not even consulted players as well, and I think this is why I don't know if you've noticed, all players have taken, action to be wanting a seat at the table, and they can sort of have a decision. We like you say, to play over Christmas. I know a lot of sports overdo it on Boxing Day and that, but I don't think, it would not been our schedule to drag out a season so long over into January. I just think it, without consulting the player, playing over Christmas, I think it'd be soul destroying for everyone.
George, were you with the same opinion?
Similar, very, very similar. But I understand from a club's perspective that they need the crowd, and they need the crowd there to get the revenue that they needed. So my aim is that if you dilute it a little bit, we'll probably get quality over quantity. I think it sounds daft to try and fit in all the regular. I think now just get away from loot fixtures, because you speak to any players. No, players don't like loot fixtures, and just dilute it. So we play, 10 to 15 games, not 20 odd, and really give it a good go, and just make it like a fair fixture list, and don't end up playing 30 odd games, 3 games in a space of a week, because we're just going to get injuries, and it's going to put a load on us players. But also on the hindsight as professional players, and if that is the case, then we're just going to have to get on with it, suck it up, and just deal with it.
Yeah, I think sometimes
the problem is, boys,
I was going to say, sometimes you can end up playing Wigan 4 or 5 times a year. I'm not sure if fans even want to see that in a regular year. They just want to see the spectacle of a rare occasion we play against Wigan in a big derby.
Yeah, I think that's why, like Toby's mentioned it, last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of negativity, and I think during this scheme, obviously during this lockdown, all I've seen is positive stuff. Rugby League needs to start taking limelight now and start talking positive, get everyone together. So I think having us players with a union on the table, helping make decisions, is only beneficial. Look at NRL now; they're booming now because the NRL players have got a say. We're taking the hits. So let us have a say and let us help. Let's all come together and be positive.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I think the big news last week was really the stand that you guys made as a collective group. We've not seen players take a united front like that for a long time. Not maybe not even while you guys have been playing. Certainly not to that level. Yeah. Do you think there was obviously the salary cap stuff last week. Do you guys? I'll start with you, Toby. Do you feel like the action that you took did have an influence in the salary cap not being reduced in the end?
Well, yeah, I definitely do. But then I read an article earlier this week saying that players have gone on to say that they're willing to accept a 15% cut. But this is definitely not being discussed with players in group chats. So, and I'm now hearing that it wasn't a unanimous decision to get rid of the salary cap. So, but I definitely think it's been heard. And what's really positive is all the fans. I've got a lot of good comments about posting that on social media, and the fans have all got our backs. I think they want to see us have a seat at the table because they see how positive it is in the NRL. I just think we're sort of paying the consequences of not buying into that League 13 app with John Wilkin a long time ago. And I think now if we can all sort of buy into this GMB union, we all want a positive say, and we just want to improve the game and improve how it's run.
George, you clear this up for me. So with regards to cuts next year, I don't think anyone's suggesting anything is agreed. Nothing's even really been discussed with you guys as a group. Have at this stage you been made aware that there may be some discussions to be had with the GMB and the clubs regarding potentially some cuts moving into next year?
Only rumours. From a GMB perspective, is they're obviously fighting on our defence and speaking in line with clubs. But the key decisions, obviously, we don't know. haven't been kept in the loop as such. I'm just going through the application now to join the GMB. I sent it off about a couple of weeks ago. So, so I'm not really kept in the loop as such. I've just rejoined it again. So I can't really speak too much on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you find it really frustrating. You just see all the time, like your players' wages are always talked about reducing. Like, and I think we're in a sport where it's, players aren't really getting as much money as you look at other sports, and for what they put, I think we all put our body through and bashing our heads together. It's always talked about recently, the reduction of wages, and I think if anything, we should be going up rather than down. I know this coronavirus is obviously going to make an effect on it.
Mm-hmm. Toby, I don't want to put you in an awkward spot here, and I'm going to try and not do the best I can. But one thing that's been said a lot on criticism from fans really about clubs who are saying, they may have to level down on player salaries and stuff like that, but then they've gone and signed players. So it was a criticism aimed at Castleford, because I think John Wells had done a piece saying salaries may level down, and they signed higher levels, and fans were like, well, how's that right? And then obviously at your club, Warrington, I don't think the cuts have been as bad as they've been elsewhere. I think that's fair to say, but at the same time, you signed Greg Inglis, so it's like, is there that sort of mentality among, I know you can't speak for everyone, but is there that sort of mentality, well, if we have to take pay cuts, how come all these signings are being made at clubs?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, I think it would be an awkward discussion, if Warrington asked me and all the players to take a pay cut when we've just gone and bought one of the best players in the world. It does sound a bit silly, and that's coming from my own club, so never mind, John Wells at Castleford. Like I say, Toronto, when they've probably asked players to take cuts and they've signed Callum Watkins on how much his salary demands. So like you say, I think clubs can't really be having bargaining power to take cuts when they're freely spending like the money on the next year. Like I say, it'd be an awkward discussion to tell me you need to take a cut, but on the other hand, you've signed a best centre in the world. Yeah.
Speaking of transfers and in demand, George King, your name's in the press this week. You're a wanted man, apparently. Can you tell us anything?
All will be revealed soon.
Revealed soon?
Very soon.
Nothing.
Come on,
can we read anything into that? That's a proper professional answer, that.
No, I can't. I've been told not to, so I better keep it like that. It's only fair.
I remember you. I remember the press absolutely loving you after the Challenge Cup final a few years ago, because you revealed then that you'd signed for Wakefield, didn't you? And all the press like, brilliant. Never get that.
Yeah.
Good times.
George,
remember that.
What's happening?
Shut up,
on the video or what?
Hey, tell me what on the Greg Inglis thing. I mean, as you said, he's the world's best centre. You are also a centre. Are you surprised that he's picked Warrington to come to when he has to try and get a spot off you?
Try and defend my spot against one of the best centres in the world. I know, yeah, it's one of them. At the same time, I at first thought, that's my centre spot gone. But like I say, to have Greg Inglis come over, I suppose you can only look at it in a positive way, really. And if I can learn anything off Greg Inglis, it's only going to develop my game. But like I say, at the same time, I don't want to be losing my spot in the squad, so it's going to have to be a massive year to fight off Greg Inglis for 2021.
No way that he could play on the other edge to you, move him across.
Tell Greg to move to the other side. Yeah, no, it just like I say, I think to have someone like that come into the sport, I think it does the whole of the Super League good. The fans and just the announcement of Greg Inglis coming has been massive, and it's made headline news. So I think the more signings we can do like this, and it's definitely better for the game. And I think even talking reducing the cap, it'd have stopped these type of players coming over, and I think that's what fans want to see. They want to see Greg Inglis playing for Warrington, so it's only beneficial for the game.
That's what I don't get about reducing the cap. I said, what in hindsight have we got from making that? If we want to grow this game, and we, increase the cap even more for me, or get rid, and let clubs just spend what they can afford to spend. I totally don't understand the concept.
The argument's always been. Go on. I was going to say the argument's always been from some clubs, and not all clubs. There are clubs that agree with that view, but the argument has been that if you get rid of the cap, you'll just have the same 2 or 3 clubs dominating the competition every year. Of course, the counter to that is we've had 25 years of Super League and only 4 teams won a grand final. So, and the lowest spender in the competition last year made the grand final. So you can argue it both ways, really.
I think I agree with somewhat what George said, but I think to have a cap is probably needed in our sport, but just definitely not lowered. If anything, it could be increased. But like you say, it seems like Salford, they didn't even spend up to the cap, and yet they still made the grand final and they were top 4 or whatever they won. It just, even if you look at football, like they don't have a cap, but you see like Man City's probably spend 200 million more than other teams, and yet Leicester going to win the Premier League. Sometimes it's just about the culture you've got within a club, and not always spending the money works. I think clubs have seen that where they've flashed money about everywhere, and they've probably done worse than what they thought.
Yeah, well, Salford went through that spell, didn't they? They spent money under coup cash and brought in Kevin Locke and various other players, and they got worse, if anything, didn't they?
Exactly. Yeah, I think if your team's not all buying into the culture and into the goals of the team, then you'll never go anywhere.
Interesting. Well, look, we don't have much time left in this first part of the show, so we'll wrap it up there. Come back in a few minutes for the second part of the show, where we'll get more discussion from the King brothers and talk all things rugby league. We will be right back. Welcome back to Rugby League Back Chat, and of course back to our guests, George and Toby King. Fellas, I want to go back right to the start of your playing careers. I'm not talking professionally, I'm talking right at the very, very start when you picked up a ball for the first time. Just sort of tell us how, I'll come to you first, Toby. How did you get into Rugby League in the first instance?
Well, it all came from my dad, really, and I think George back us up on that. He loved rugby league, and as did my granddad, it was sort of in the family. And he ended up setting up a team down in Meltham, and George was already part of the team. He's a year above, but then I just sort of joined in with his year group, and then it all just stemmed from there, really, just playing for Meltham All Blacks in Huddersfield. And it was it's a very small village, and everyone sort of knew each other, and it was just like the best days of your life playing with your mates down on the Meltham Rec.
Wait, I can't remember where Meltham played. I played for Elland, and I remember going to Newsom and players like that, but I don't remember Meltham.
Everyone seems
don't
to
remember
say
God's Village.
Yeah, no one seems to remember going to Meltham, but it was a special year group that we had. We ended up getting to the Yorkshire finals and that, and I think a lot of the people was like, "What on earth is Meltham?" Like they just think, "Oh, we're some joke of a team," but then he ended up being in the Yorkshire finals, national finals, and we sort of made a really good go of it. And a lot of players from that team managed to make it onto new levels, like into the game.
So there were obviously you two, George. Who else was of note in that team?
Yeah, so there's a few championship players, weren't there?
Yeah, a few championship, but I ended up moving to Siddle as well.
George was a traitor in it all.
My group folded. My year group folded, and then I ended up having to move to Siddle. So I ended up playing with the likes of Oliver Roberts, Jake Connor, players that are playing now, Joe Martin, a couple of others. So yeah, so we had a really good team at Siddle as well, coached by Lonnie and Ian. So yeah, real good team, and made friends for life for certainly. So it's always good, really going back up there and go on.
What was that, Tom?
I was going to say you had your as well as the championship players, like Mikey Wood, Elliot Morris playing at Halifax, Fraser over there. Yeah, so it was quite pretty special team.
I was just going to mention Siddle. I mean, I like I said, I'm an Ellen boy, and Ellen don't like Siddle. But when we played, they had incredible. So the team that I played against was Niall Evalds and Adam O'Brien, and they had some other great players. What is it about Siddle that makes them as good as they are, George? Because clearly they're doing something right down there.
Definitely, and you go to Siddle and they've got a real good setup from the sevens all the way right up to open age, and in some year groups they've got 2 to 3 teams as well. You could put Siddle on par with some of the academy teams in academy setups in Super League. You know, that they're that good. I just think because they've got so many volunteers and so many hard-working people working there behind the scenes that they just managed to do really well, and they're in a good catchment area as well. You know, Halifax being a really good bed for rugby league. So in that hindsight, they're doing really well.
And so how did you end up at Warrington? Because the club that generally, you know, Bradford were around at the time, really big. Huddersfield were around. How did you boys end up finding your way to Warrington?
Well, mine happened to be is when Toby were already there. I were at Huddersfield Scholarship, Huddersfield Academy at the time, and I wasn't really going anywhere. You know, I had a year where I hit and miss, and Huddersfield wanted to keep me on again 1 year in the academy, and I just thought if I wanted to make a Super League player or go that extra step, that I needed to move on elsewhere. Huddersfield at the time wanted a transfer fee, what no club were willing to pay for a young kid that they've never seen play professional rugby before. So basically, I had no choice but to either quit the game or to wait it out and beg, really, to let me leave. So they didn't end. We had to pay a small transfer fee, but then Warrington took me on a 1 year deal, and so I joined Toby there 1 year in the academy.
You sort of putting it lightly there, but it was actually probably a really special and defining part of George's career, that last year of Huddersfield. I know a lot of players get to that sort of year where the contract ends at under 18s and clubs can either keep you for a year, but then you hold ransom over you and you can't go to other clubs. So George was stuck with Huddersfield, but they didn't want him to go on to first team. They wanted to keep him for that year.
Yeah, so
it was coming to an end, wasn't it?
It's an awful rule. It's still I think it's still in effect, really, and I think I'd love to see it abolished. It's that rule where if you're under 23, you're still held accountable to that club, even if you're in contract. I think it's I think it's quite a disgusting rule, and it really affected me mentally as well. For a few months. So I think there's, I know, well, I've heard as well, and I've seen it. A few kids stuck with that rule, where they're out of contract and they want to leave, but they can't. They're stuck with that club. I think that needs to be looked at definitely, and hopefully get rid of.
Yeah,
it is an important point, that, because there is a theory that a lot of clubs will stockpile players, knowing that there's not really much chance of them progressing, but then when it's clear they can't progress and someone else wants to give them a gig, they won't let them move on without getting some money for it. It's not. No. It seems
it's wrong, isn't it?
Like, I understand the concept of why the rule's in place is to stop other clubs poaching that player, but you can't hold accountable to that player till he's 23 years of age. You know what I mean? It's that player's got to make a livelihood of the game, hasn't he? So it's I'd like to do away with that rule.
If you sort of didn't get lucky in a way, his career would have been over at 18, 19, but it was only because of, like, under circumstances you probably can't say under camera, that he managed to get out of that, and and he had to make a really big effort at Warrington to get there, and it's sort of that. I've probably seen a lot of players' careers ended just because of that rule.
Yeah, so I've got a big thanks to Warrington as well. They helped me out massively, and it was down to me and people around me to prove that I'm capable of staying here at that Warrington great club, and they did help me out there financially as well, and in the reward of getting me transfer fee back.
You also, when you went to Warrington, you had some time in the Canada off, and you also played a little bit of dual reg. I remember, in fact, George, I remember years back speaking to you about dual reg, and you were a bit unsure about how it was, whether it was the right thing. Looking back on it now, do you stick by that dual reg maybe isn't the way to go?
Oh, 100%. 100%. You ask any. I'll start with this one. I don't know one rugby league player what doesn't like dual reg. No one likes it at all. Everybody that signs to a club wants to be affiliated with that club. I'm all for players going out on loan and getting experience for a season or a month or whatever it is. I'm all for that. But dual reg, don't get me wrong, I've had to do it because I had no choice or I had no game. So basically, I had to be selfish because I needed game time to better myself and play for my affiliated club at the time, which were Warrington. So I had no choice but to go on to dual reg with Wales and Rochdale at the time. And don't get me wrong, I had great times there. But I ended up having to take somebody's match pay bonus, and I had to take somebody else's spot, and somebody's game time. And it just wasn't a great concept at all. And, I really prefer the reserves. I think the reserves is a great concept, and long may it continue.
Here's the thing, though. The rumour is that there won't be reserve grade next year. It's going to go back to 19s or 20s, potentially. A lot of it financial because of everything that's going on at the minute. But, Toby, would that be a step back in your eyes?
Yeah, definitely. Would that be then going back to dual reg again? And also they'll be sending players there. Yeah, it'll be.
I mean, dual reg is still in operation technically. Fev Leeds still have that relationship, and there are others as well. But it doesn't seem as prominent as this year, given that a lot of clubs are putting the players in reserve grade. But you would imagine if they go back to 1920s, there would be more players going on dual reg, wouldn't you? So.
Yeah, I think it's a step back because players sometimes don't develop till they're 20 years old, 21, and it's just basically not giving them the chance to get that step up through the Warrington system and make it into the first team. And I think we paid the cost of getting rid of reserves however many years back over the long term, and I think fans have seen it. Coaches understand it how important it has been to have a reserve system over the years, and I think we're paying the cost of it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, you see a lot now with Championship League One teams that they rely so heavily now on dual reg because of the players, obviously the playing pool diluted. I think that's a big factor of dual reg personally, and I'd do away with it. I'd have reserves back me and have a more big pool of youngsters playing, coming through the system again, and then the talent pool increases rather than dual reg for me.
Yeah. You both obviously made your way into the first team though, and I mean, Toby, you're obviously still there and playing regularly. What was it like playing together for as big a club as Warrington, and with ultimately some very, very, very good players? George, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, really enjoyed my time at Warrington. I was very lucky enough, obviously, to get to 2 grand finals and 2 Challenge Cup finals. Unfortunate, obviously, not to win one, but that 16 season, especially, were great. We competed for 3 trophies, managed to win one of them with league leaders. Really had good memories, and that 19th season as well. I really thought, that 19th season in that grand final. Before it as well, we're really going to go on and we're going to go that extra step and win it. And it's nick and tuck. And someone once said to me, can't remember who it was, said you get so many chances in a game, and it's a team what takes them most. And Wigan on the day, they did that and they ended up winning. But I really enjoyed my time at Warrington. Some great people there at that club, and who knows what the future holds.
Toby, it must go on.
I was just going to say, like you say, on top of that, just playing alongside your brother, it's pretty special to do, and much prefer playing with him than against him. And I think it was really good for the family as well.
Do you when you play each other now? Be honest. What's it like in the build-up? Are you giving each other grief? Do you keep away from each other? Do the family try and avoid you all at both costs? How will a normal week in the King family be when you're getting ready to knock each other out for 6 if you possibly can?
Yeah, I think, like I say, it's sort of like the same as any ordinary week. It's only until you get to the game and then you see your brother on the opposite side warming up and that, and you actually I'm a big fan of George and I want him to play well. So it's tough. You obviously you want to win the game, but I want to win the game. But then I want George to have a decent game as well, and for him to be injury free and play well. But at the same time, if I have to run over the top of him, I will do that.
No chance. No chance.
Are you the same? Are you the same feeling, George? That you want him to play well, or you're hoping he has a stinker and you can make his life miserable?
Oh, I'm the total opposite. I want him to have a stinker and have the worst game possible. Definitely. But no, last year we played. It was a bit weird because it was the first time we played against each other in Super League. That were a big one, but we've been used to it in the past. While I've been at Huddersfield Academy, he's been at Warrington. We've played against each other several times, so we've always been used to it, and it's something we've become accustomed to now. And we just get on with it. We wish each other well.
Have you had any funny exchanges when you? Oh, I can imagine. I was gonna say, have you had any funny exchanges while you've been on opposite teams?
It's because we never really come into contact with each other in being forward to each other, but we've not really ever given anything to each other.
That's boring.
Boring.
We're hoping there'll be a slight punch or something like that.
Yeah, we had one in academy where George tried roughing me up on ground, but the ref just gave a penalty, so it ended up being like it cost his own team. So, yeah, sound.
Obviously, you decided to move on, George, to Wake. So what were the thinking behind that at the time?
I think I probably just wanted to got to a certain stage when I was at Warrington where for me to take a gamble and move elsewhere and really take that next step. I just felt like it was just the right time for me to move. I wanted to get a little bit more game time on the field and experience somewhere else. And like you say, when you're at a club, you get to a certain time where you think it's time to leave, and never say never. Maybe one day might have the possibility of returning. Who knows? And but no, I had a really good time at Warrington and got to that stage where I knew I needed to leave.
Talk me through this really interests me with forwards. Whenever I speak to forwards, they talk about minutes and desperate for minutes, and it seems like it's the big focus for many forwards. Is that the case? Do you track how many minutes you play and you think, I'd like 5 more? And does it have a role and an influence in, as you say, moving to another club perhaps?
Yeah, it does. You get many types of forwards. You get some forwards what are obviously impact forwards, and and you get some obviously that your forwards what you starting middles what can play for longer minutes. And I like to see myself as a little bit in between, and given the role, I'll do that for the team at any chance. And I got to that stage where I just felt like I could really make an impact now into Super League, and I took a gamble upon myself to move to a club, and really good club in Wakey, and really give it a good go. And, that gamble really, I would hit and miss that season. Last season, and I had some good games and some games where I were okay, but I really finding my feet this season. I had a really good pre-season, and I'm really hoping that I could hit the ground running. Unfortunate with injury, just not to be, but I managed to play the last 2 games, and hopefully with a bit more game time at the end of the season, I can really improve.
Well, in a few months' time, hopefully we'll see a little bit more of you. We're going to have a quick break here, and then we'll see more of the King Brothers after this short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Don't forget, Backchat is available on FreeSports throughout the season on all of these platforms. And you can also catch up via the FreeSports player by registering for absolutely free.
Welcome back to the final part of this week's Rugby League Backchat. Now, we are going to warn you, at any point, George may cut off because he's having some battery problems and he's on 6% as we speak.
Shocking.
So if his screen goes black, you know what's happened, and we'll just roll on and do the rest of the show without him. But we're all right at the minute. Right, fellas, here's a question everyone wants to know, and I'm going to let you two debate this out between yourselves. Who's better?
No question. I think could set a little poll up, but I reckon It's hard, because we're both different positions. I think if George, like you say, if we played the same positions, obviously be me, but with George being the forward, he gets away with this question. So we can just sort of neutralise it and say George is better in the forwards, I'm better in the backs. But I think if you go out the all-round better player, then there's no question really.
Oh, we're going on rugby terms. I thought we were just going on like in general.
Better.
No.
However you want this conversation.
No, rugby terms, it's no brainer. The way Toby's been playing this season, it's been unreal. It's been terrific. He's probably been one of Warrington's better players this season. Some of the stuff he does is.
I feel bad now.
No. Don't worry, kid. But yeah, some of the stuff he does at centre, with his offloads and his skill is freaking, and I can really see him going on and moving on at a new level, and hopefully getting represented with honours.
Toby, one thing I will give you, I'm not taking anything away from you, George, obviously, but you've got a leap on you, haven't you? I remember in the Challenge Cup last year, you were up like Michael Jordan.
Oh, blushing, yeah, camera. You both give me good compliments. No, it's fair. Something I try to work on a lot of training. I know I get into the halfbacks a bit, saying just give me more kicks, and that's all I keep saying to him. Just kick the ball up and don't worry about the rest. I'll just chase it down. But yeah, something I like to do is just attack every kick, and if it can come in a result where they knock on, then it's beneficial. We just get our forwards repeat set. They do a lot of work in our team, so anything to help the forwards out. I love competing at everything.
Right, we've been nice enough to you for about a minute and a half here, so let's give you some grief. What's your most embarrassing moment on the field? You must, George. I don't know if you've even got any from back in the day that you can think where George showed himself up.
For George, I don't know if it's embarrassing, but like he gets away with it every time. But I don't know if you've seen it when he does them kicks. He kicks it off. It's like Chris Sandow's first game for Warrington, about to kick the ball off the tee. And George will just be in forward position and he'll just run. I don't know if you've seen him do it, and he'll kick the ball himself and then he'll just pick it up at 10 metres. But every time he's done it, it's come off. So I don't know if you can call it embarrassing, but it's just bizarre. And I think teams see it and think it's something we train for. But that's what George is just like. He'll just run and kick the ball and do whatever he wants.
I seem to actually remember this happening, yeah.
Yeah, well, I ain't done it for about 3 years. It's too risky now. I think teams quite quickly crop on. But what used to happen is, obviously, when opposition used to kick for a goal, that player used to retreat back to the 10-metre line when really they used to come all the way back to the try line, to give it the forward for kick-off. But what were happening was his halfbacks were coming back to 10-metre line but going really wide. So there was a massive gap there, really wide, between the two players on the 10-metre line for kick-off. So an easy space just to grubber it quickly and pick the ball up and then we're in possession.
It's a halfback's nightmare, George.
So yeah, I remember doing it once. I remember doing it. My best one were obviously against Castleford. I remember doing it there, but we were 18-0 down at the time, or something around that. Anyway, and I ended up doing it from being 18-0 down, and we ended up getting back into the game. So from that, so it worked.
So you were the match winner, is what you're saying. And George King, the match winner. I don't think that's been said very often, has it?
Yeah. All started from George's kick-off. Watch out for it now. When the lockdown's over and we're back, George King will do a short 10 for us.
On a slightly other note, I'll start with you, George. Who's the worst player you've come up, and I don't mean worst in ability, I mean just the worst to have to play against, whether it be, I know a lot of people in the Championship say Scott Morrell because he just doesn't show up, but then it might just be because they've just hammered you. Who do you least like coming up against on a rugby field?
Well, I don't know if he's up there, but I once played against Scott Morrell and he never stopped giving me stick. I think it was last game of the season, and I think there were 50, 60 points in front, and he was still at it. It's like, come on, Scott, mate, give it a rest. You're 60 points in front here. Your Mad Monday starts in an hour, and you still wanted to. But no, I remember that quite vividly. You get some big boppers, you get some big fellas, are obviously a nightmare to get down. I remember that Frank Polnuasala from Wigan. He were a handful. Sam Cassiano from Catalan. You know, but then again, saying that, you always get the little fellas as well that are a nightmare to play against. Morgan Escaré at Wigan and players like, I know he's not big in stature, but gee, he does make up for it. John Bateman, you know, he's a real tough player and he's really, you know, a real handful. You know, players like that are just such hard work to get down for, certainly.
I'm just glad I'm on the left
Toby?
side now, because on the right side you have to play against Conrad Earl. And if he's having a good game, he'll just trample you. So I'm just getting to my half-back inside me. Please help me with Conrad Earl. He's a three-man job in. Can't take him down on your own.
There's a lot of decent centres at the minute, though. You must have. I mean, I know you'll give people an hard time, but there must be people who give you an hard time as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, there's a lot of centres seem to be at the minute, like your Josh Griffins, your Ollie Gildart. There's a lot of centres coming up, and I think even Greg Inglis to add to that pot is going to be massive next year.
George, I've got to ask you. It's been bugging me all show. What is that thing in your hand?
Oh, this thing.
Yeah.
I've just been just twiddling it while the show's been going on.
Are you nervous to be on this show? I know Toby's giving you a bit of a hard time. I thought you were here by choice.
No. Yeah.
Andy dropped it. You're just getting the practice.
I dropped it and again.
And again.
Yeah, I'll pass it if you want.
It'd be good if we could make that happen, but I won't catch it anyway.
Put it in that lovely kitchen. It's a nice kitchen there.
Don't. Are you talking to me?
You, George? No, I can't see it. Right. Where's the TV?
I was just going to say you've definitely been teed up to ask that question. 100%. He's become a running joke. He's become a running joke. There's no TV.
I was just on your Twitter earlier and I saw someone say it, so I thought, I'm just going to tee it up and say you've got a nice kitchen there, and then a TV bracket on the wall.
Didn't have you down as a social media stalker, Toby, but you know.
I just followed you this morning. Thought I'd have a little creep on your stories.
There won't be much exciting on that. Just a load of rubbish about rugby league. That's probably all I'm through. That's what I'm told anyway.
A few entertaining reads on there.
I try my best. I think that's the nicest compliment I've ever got. What is it? This has been far too nice.
It would just all be nice. You give me the compliment about catching out balls in mid-air, and then I thought, your articles are very interesting.
Well, thank you. Last show, we had Ryan Brierley and John Duffy on, and I genuinely would not be surprised if Ryan Brierley did us all for bullying. He was absolutely was the poor lad. He's been the complete opposite of this. We've got 7 minutes to get the answers.
There's like a little chat in our Warrington team, and with me, Jake Mamo, Joe Philbin, Tom Line, and Matty Davis, and we're just all about positivity, and we just absolutely big each other off. It's like a little positive group. With all the toxicness that's going on, we just give each other positive. We're not allowed to do negative comments. Changing the way rugby league is.
What sort of comments? What sort of comments?
So just like if Joe Philbin gets an haircut of even if it's the worst haircut he's ever had, we'd be like, "Oh, Joe, outstanding haircut that mate. You look absolutely $1 million. You look class." Just all spreading the love. It's just nice to be positive.
So basically, you're all lying.
And then nice to be positive. Negative will. We're just spreading the love.
I've got to admit, I didn't have rugby league group chats being like that. I thought there'd be all sorts being said, but not that.
We're just so different. Well, we talk about going on walks. We're going to go on walks together when this is all done, and we're just all about spreading the love.
Well, technically, that group could go now. You can have 6 people.
I think it's six, isn't it now, that can meet up and go out together?
Yeah.
You don't get this in the wake of group chats, do you, George? All toxic and negativity. What's your group chat like?
Brutal.
All negative, all just taking the care of each other. In the main,
not at all.
Yeah, you get all that, but you get it all for being bold.
We have a good laugh.
You've got some characters at Wakey.
Oh, definitely.
Come on and give us some examples of what's in group chats.
I don't know. I'm a big believer in what happens in the group chat stays in the group chat, Matthew.
Won't tell me which club he's playing for next year. Won't tell me what's said in his. What's the point of having you on? You have got some characters in that group, though, haven't you? I mean, David Fafita, we all know about him. Adam Tangata, who I know well, he's a character. He did a quiz for you the other week. I think I saw somewhere.
Yeah, big ads. Yeah, we got some certainly funny characters. Some characters that will have you from laughing from first minute that you step into training to last. So no, it's a good group of lads to be around, and I can't wait to be back with them.
What's the most ridiculous memory you've got from your time at Wakefield? Like just someone being, because you've got a few pranksters there as well. I know Ryan Hampshire don't mind a prank.
Yeah. There's quite a few, and you put me on the spot there. I can't really seem to think of any, but it's just first thing when you go in the morning, it's 6 a.m. and you're obviously tired. You're still waking up from your sleep, and you've got players there already doing pranks on you. Hiding stuff from you. Just the little petty stuff that you take for granted in a workplace. So it's a really good group of lads to be around, but nothing that I can think on top of my head. I mean, boring here, aren't I? We're proper boring.
Yeah. you said it.
Yeah, put me to sleep. We'll go for a nap.
But no,
talking to me about
you get players like Big Dave coming in, and he's proper loud, and
sounds alright.
It's hard. It's just I just can't think of all. It's just there'll be loads to tell, but I can't think of it.
Yeah. Come on then, Toby. You clearly must have some great stories to tell from the grief you're giving out. What have you got for us?
He's put me on spot now. Nah, we've got the typical joke, as like girls, he'll always put a video in or something. And I think he had one in the other day of him fishing over in New Zealand, and he was thinking, a couple of months back he was there getting bullied by Eddie Gardner in conditioning into doing stuff. He had us rowing all pre-season, and then he was out there rowing, catching fish and doing all that sort of stuff. So he was just appreciating life. We've all put a sort of what we're all up to at the minute, and that. So it's good just to keep in touch with everyone.
I imagine Tom Lynham's fairly active as well, because he did that infamous interview, didn't it?
Yeah,
that interview he did was one of the best.
Yeah, with his mannequin in background.
Mm-hmm.
I used to live with Tom Lynham when I was over there, and it was the worst. It was the best for the first month, and then after that, I reckon it was the worst 2 months of my life. He is just absolutely crazy OCD. Like, I was in the room with Cynthia, the mannequin, and like if I didn't put a fork away correctly, or if there was a bit of crumbs on the surface, it'd be absolutely screaming. I'd have to come down, wake up, tidy it up. It was just absolutely mental. So it was as much as I love him, it's tough to live. I feel sorry for his girlfriend.
So
it's like
I didn't actually know you lived with him. So he was mega OCD, was he?
Yeah, it's just ridiculous, next level, and he's always busy as well. He's always on phone speaking to someone, whether it's like an ex-mate or doing something. It's just you always know he's there.
So you never get a rest with him.
Never get a rest. Even if I was asleep on the sofa or something, it'd come at me for something that wasn't tidy, or if I didn't fold up my bed sheets correctly or anything like that. If I didn't do the washing, it was like living at home with mum when I was 12. I thought I was going to live with Tom Lynham. It'd be an absolute class life. We'll have a laugh together. We can have the odd night out. We'd be doing all this, and it was just like military camp. Horrendous. I used to do. It was that bad. It was. He'd have his dinner. I'd go and literally have my dinner in Subway and just sit there for about 2 hours eating a 6-inch sandwich because I just wanted to get out of the house. We'd go to training and we'd have like a courtroom, like one of our like functions as they do, and he'd put on like a massive show of like how wrong I've been and putting all this together, but telling the whole team everything I've done wrong. So I'd come to training and there'd be something else that I didn't even know I'd done, and it'd just be the topic every time at training. Me and Tom living together. Couldn't wait to get out. I was paying £400 a month as well. Could you believe it? For one room in St Helens.
Oh,
Anyone that knows St Helens,
Unbelievable.
Par, you know Par, the area, you pay £400 for 1 month. Do you reckon he's having me off, innit?
Well, I'd probably be able to retire on that at the end because he must be on decent money at Warrington as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Gents, I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap it up there. We've run out of time. We've actually been recording for about 2.5 hours. We've had to have 3 breaks so that George could charge his battery up. But we are finally done. A big thanks to you two, gents. You've been great sports. Thank you all for listening as well. We'll be back with another episode real soon.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Good.